It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays. And as I record this Wellness Wednesday, my channel is being review bombed. Well, dislike bombed by people angry about She-Hulk. Expected. But it did inspire me to make a video about what bracket not to do when you are triggered by something. This will be useful for sort of everyone. And the thing is, I don't use triggered as a pejorative. It's I make, and this is why part of the reason I found that scene from She-Hulk so funny. The whole social justice warrior triggered thing was me making fun of having PTSD. Like, I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2013. I don't say I have PTSD because I'm not symptomatic anymore, but I had the DBT binder. It was so funny on Twitch. I was talking about binders, and a trans guy in chat thought it was a different kind of binder. It was good times. That's why I love Twitch chat. But no, the organizing papers binder. My community is amazing. If you want to support these community endeavors, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. The nice thing about my monetization model, and I mean, okay, this is what's weird about dislike bombing. It benefits the content creator. This is why I do not understand why people do it. It's completely nonsensical. It's not logical, because YouTube counts any button you hit, whether it's upvote, downvote, like, dislike, as an engagement. And it rewards the content creator for enraging you so much that you hit a button and went angry typing. If you choose to leave a comment. I don't agree with this. I think it's a race to the bottom, which is why I do Feedback Fridays and why I, actively encourage and reward contributions, comments that contribute to the dialogue. Agree, disagree, as long as it contributes and it's not just spewing dark side of the force onto the internet. And I highly recommend everybody listens to this week's It's Not Therapy, because it's on empathy, and I get more into dialectical behavior therapy and what it is, inspired by She-Hulk. But anyway, that's not the topic here. I'm just saying this is a thing because too many people use triggered as a pejorative, and that's not helpful. I mean, people are going to do it. You can't stop it, right? And that's the thing. This is why I relate to Smart Hulk, because when you've been through the shit and you work through the binder, this shit really doesn't bother you anymore. It's just sort of like, you're cute. And I was struck, and this isn't me making fun. This is actually a weep for humanity moment for me. I was struck by the number of people who thought Bruce Banner came off as weak in that scene. Because Bruce Banner, to me, super display of strength. It's Superman, that tickles with the bullets, right? Because strength isn't being able to scream back at someone. Strength, resiliency, is it really not bothering you? And what deeply concerns me about this whole cascading freakouts about Marvel and Star Wars and all that stuff is that it is a real sign that a lot of people are really badly hurting and they're transferring it to fictional media. Now, this isn't the same as people being upset about the wiping out of extended canon. That's a different thing. The She-Hulk thing is so stark because that's who she is in the comics. It is, like, they couldn't spell it out more that she says, unkind yet true things. And people freak out. Not recognizing, she uses statements like that the same way Billy Butcher on The Boys drops C-bombs. She repels people with words so they can't hurt her. Or, so that she can control the rejection. And it's really disturbing to me how many adults don't see that. And that tells me there's a hell of a lot of trauma going on out there. And I'm being totally Smart Hulk right now. I hate that I've adopted Smart Hulk. Because it's Professor Hulk, right? Remember Joe Fixit? That's a nerd reference. But I want, if I could give the whole internet dialectical behavior therapy binders right now. Here's the program, do the steps, please, it worked for me. Because what I see is a whole bunch of people having really strong emotional reactions that are not about the thing they're claiming it's about. And as much as I can go, you are being ridiculous and vaguely unhinged here, that does not mean I don't feel awful that they're that upset. And I have to detach from that to go, no, I'm not going to just be overwhelmed by people's emotional overwhelm. I have to stay centered and I have to stay balanced, because what they teach you in PTSD therapy, which is, at least what I did, was a form of dialectical behavior therapy, is you can't control how something makes you feel. You can control how you express that feeling. And it's better to process and just deal with it internally instead of spewing it out in the world where people are allowed to make judgments about what you say and do. And I learned this the hard way. I was actually profoundly trauma triggered by a Witcher 3 trailer back in the day. I was live tweeting E3 and holy shit, did I get raked over the coals for it. I'm not going to repeat it even, but it was something about the tone of, it was a female character who, of course, it's the world of The Witcher, shit happens, but it was the tone of voice and the sort of defeated, well, here we go again, kind of, and that's real shitty when that happens when you're trying to work. And I made the mistake of trying to push through it and denying it bothered me, and I got fucking hammered for it. 'Cause, yeah, I made a contentious statement. It was not untrue. But it didn't matter. It set people off, and when enough people get set off on the internet, you don't get a chance to explain. That's just the rules. They're not fair, but those are the rules. And so I learned, be really careful be very careful tweeting while emotionally compromised. Whether that's tweeting while angry, tweeting while scared, tweeting tweeting while in PTSD flashbacks, so on and so forth. You gotta tweet from a good place. And that's why I'm always amazed at the way people misconstrue some of the things I say, because unless I say, okay, I'm legit pissed off right now, I'm not pissed off on Twitter. Now, even when I say I'm legit pissed off, if I'm really that's like a 3 on the Hulk scale to me when I'm mad enough, but I'm still tweeting. Because if I'm really, really compromised, like if I'm so angry, I'm shaking, compromised, I don't tweet. I don't tweet about anything I don't find funny on some level. And that's what's so weird. And I realize it's people filtering. It's a form of empathy in a way. It's people thinking what they would mean if they would say it. And these people are walking around, ironically, so angry and afraid all the time that they don't realize that not everybody is coming at, sarcastic snark from that place. Some of us are just snarky because we find things funny. We're not snarky because we're using it to cover up fucking early childhood trauma, right? And I think that's why people got so defensive of Bruce Banner there, and they don't recognize, because they're actually, the amazing thing is the people freaking out about She-Hulk, they're Jen in that scene. They haven't done the work yet. Because Banner's good, man. You can say anything to him. He's good. Words will not hurt him. He's a freaking Hulk. Sticks and stones won't break his bones, and words won't hurt him. He's Professor/Smart Hulk, right? And the crazy thing is, people who know the comic book story arc because they're referencing it don't get that. Because they're triggered. Because they are triggered. And again, I can both believe that they are behaving inadvisably, and I'm not just going to let somebody say and do whatever the fuck they want because they're emotionally compromised. But I can still feel for them. And that's the thing. You're not responsible for the bad things people did to you. You are responsible for how that informs your behavior going forward. And if you're losing your shit over a TV show, think about that. This is fiction. And the thing that really concerns me is the fact that, we defend things like video games by saying it's not real. People can tell the difference. Right? Violent media doesn't create violence in real life. And yet, so many people are treating She-Hulk like a fucking documentary. It's not logical. It's not. It's nothing about this is logical. And that indicates, and it is not, and this is the thing. People think, if I have negative feelings, I'm weak. And that's not how it works. Strength is acknowledging you feel those things and not letting it overwhelm you. You can't be brave if you're never afraid. You can't be strong until your resilience is seriously tested. So denying you feel those things isn't going to get you extra points. It's just going to make you do shitty things and have you end up further behind, which is what I had to learn the hard way. Over and over and over again until I finally Smart Hulked the fuck up. And this is harsh. Unkind but true. But you don't have to respond to everything. You certainly don't have to be on it for 4, 5, 6 days after the fact. And I mean, I kept tweeting about it because I was fascinated. And then I started making jokes about, all the different Disney princess films that would have been seen as proof of some feminist agenda at Disney by modern standards. Like, oh my God, Belle was so bad to Gaston. That wasn't the word I used on Twitter, but, she was so bad to Gaston, radical feminist agenda saying the girls, should avoid what he liked her. Like, it's awful, but someone, not only would someone do it, apparently there are YouTube videos out there that make the same argument. I mean, the movie Zootopia. He's a fox. She's a bunny. Predator, prey. Men are in the harem, predators, feminist agenda. It's nonsense. They're fables. They work on multiple levels. They're not. You only see that if you're primed to see it. Otherwise, you see it as a movie that's a message of tolerance. Because the fox isn't bad at the end. And, what's her name? Judy Hopps? She's not just food either. You have to judge the whole thing. And again, this is why we're talking about what to not do when you're triggered. Because whenever I have a strong emotional reaction to something, it's like very still. When you feel it, first of all, you have to recognize it. And if you're in denial of what you're feeling, you can't do that. So first, you have to be strong and brave enough to admit you're feeling scared, angry, or otherwise rattled. And then you have to stop. And you have to figure out why, so you don't make an ass out of yourself. Because people are pretty forgiving as a rule. They'll be okay with a few bad days. But at this point, people are just getting tired of the constant freakouts. And what makes me really worried is that there is a legitimate emotional reaction at the core of this stuff, but these predominantly men who are part of this, they have been encouraged to do the exact opposite of the thing that is going to get them a good hearing, because they're convinced that they're never going to get a good hearing because radical feminist agenda taking over everything. Hate to break it to you guys, this is a great way to make that a self-fulfilling prophecy. Keep doing this shit. You're feeding the beast. Because the more noise something makes, the more interest something generates. And I do not believe for a second that this was intentional, because you really can't. You can't predict whether these things are going to blow up or not. I mean, shit, in The Sandman, Dream imprisons a woman he claimed to love for 10,000 years in hell because she, quote, defied him. That's pretty fucked up. No outrage. These things don't make any sense. They don't make any sense. It's a very bad tactic to try to control something getting this big. It just happens sometimes over dumb crap. And this one didn't even involve J.K. Rowling. Talk about a woman who has not handled her trauma. If you look at people like this from the outside, when you look at people like that, you're like, yeah, they need to get their shit together. Unfortunately, people are so wounded. They are feeling so vulnerable. They are so afraid of admitting something is their kryptonite that they don't face it. And so it continues to control them. And the worst thing to do if you really feel attacked by something, legit, like not, because a lot of the stuff you see in media, a lot of the hot take shit, it's performative, it's cynical, they're doing it for clicks, or there's somebody cynically exploiting someone with legit PTSD for clicks. At some point, it is cynical. But if you're emulating that, you're not. Look at how you react when you read some bullshit hot take way out. You're like, wow, that's kind of pitiable. And that should be instructive, but because people are not thinking logically, because they're emotionally compromised, it don't work that way. And it sucks. I want to be able to save people from this impulse, but I know I can't. So I'm the one just sitting there going, the binder's here when you're ready for it, right? Like when you're ready, there's actually a process. You don't have to do this. But in the meantime, because people don't have access to it, people can't afford it, you have to be ready. Because you have to question a lot of your assumptions about things. But until then, when you feel that strong emotional response, stop and stabilize before speaking, even if it's through a keyboard. That masking rage, that temporarily feeling powerful by doing something, it's not worth the fallout from something you didn't think through and it came out too blunt, or there's no way to completely predict how the internet is going to twist things, but there are some predictable things and some that aren't. And again, I'm speaking from experience, because then if somebody attacks you for something you said while you were in a legitimately vulnerable moment, well, you just get re-traumatized every time somebody beats on you for it. And trust me, I don't feel good. So it's better to stay silent and be thought a fool or be thought weak than to speak and remove all doubt. That's a truism for a reason. And people don't like to hear it because they think making a lot of noise and going, rah, that's supposedly strength. And you call yourself Hulk fans. No, that is not strength. That is being out of control. That's the thing Banner avoids. Because that's monstrous. That's the thing about the Hulk. It's Jekyll and Hyde, right? That's not cool. It's supposed to be scary. And somebody can really get hurt. And yet people think that's strength. Ay, caramba. That's some pretty fucked up perspective. And it's not people's fault. That's what they've been pushed to believe. That is what they get all whipped up by opportunists that are monetizing outrage, and they get sent out like good little fucking foot soldiers to whip shit up and get more negative experiences, so they'll feel worse and they'll go running back to the people using them for monetization. And they're just whipping up outrage because that's how they make their money. I can't do anything about that. I can just present the information. So if people want better for themselves, they can have it. I'm offering an alternative. But it's gotta be the choice of every individual person. No one can force somebody to want to be happier and feel more balanced and be able to not feel so reactive all the time. It's not good for you physically. It's really hard on your endocrine system. It's hard on your heart. All that cortisol, like, it's not good to be angry and afraid all the time. That is not where humans are supposed to be. Those are little boosts when you need it. You know, it's the turbo in a video game. It's not your basic acceleration button. That's if in case of emergency, break glass. You shouldn't be feeling that way all the time. You don't deserve to feel that way all the time. There's an alternative. I've given you the first step. Take it or leave it. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can't afford it. If you want more one-on-one help with this kind of stuff, coffee.com/LeannaK. Link in the description box to the Leanna Care sign-up form below. Thanks for watching and be well.